Hey everyone, this is Ivan from AI Decals, and I'm just bringing you a quick video of a decal I'm making today and just showing you the process. So right now I initially started out by inspecting my blade for my vinyl cutter and just started installing it right away. And there's a little bit of fuzz at the bottom there, but I will remove that later, worry not. And while the vinyl is cutting, as you can see, it is pretty dusty, but worry not, that can be easily cleaned off. I do have some rubbing alcohol solution, but regardless, moving on now that it is cut, we're just going to be looking at the overall design and start weeding it out. And after it's done weeding out, we're going to be applying that transfer tape from my left right on top, so that way we can properly apply to any surface we'd be looking at. In my case, it's going to be a wall. But now that we did weed it out, and as you can see, it is properly sectioned off in pretty uniform rectangles. The reason that happened is because my proper system that at least I used was software. It allowed me to already have preset weeded out boxes, so it makes it a lot faster for me, a lot easier overall. Some softwares include them, some softwares don't. I'm lucky to where mine does, but let's just get ahead and start getting this removed. But starting with that top left corner, we're going to be moving down at an angle, making sure that we're not just yanking, but slowly making sure that it's coming off, just due to the fact that you don't want any extra lettering or parts of your decal to just get ripped off as a whole. You want to make sure that it's all being done uniformly, you can say. And as you can see, even one-handed, I was able to overall take off that weeding. And once again, moving on to the bottom portion of the lettering for LLC, just going to be doing the same concept, pulling at an angle slowly but surely. And you're going to notice that I am pulling at a little bit of a snag right there. In one-handed, it was troublesome. So what I did is I grabbed the extra piece of vinyl I have right there in my hand, stuck it to the bottom of my table, and I reached for the top corner and I pulled off there just to work along with the vinyl. And the key concept when working with vinyl, once again, is to work with it, not against it. So once again, you're just gonna be working with it, pulling at an angle. And to make things easier for you, you can always cut off extra slack like I'm about to do right here. Just gonna grab some scissors, a knife, a blade, whatever's handy to you, clip that off. And once again, just start pulling. And we should be finished up with it soon. And you can always as well use weeding tools. There are specialty tools that are made for this stuff as well, but I typically use them mainly for a lot more of my intricate or smaller designs, as that's what they're typically meant for. Things like this I can just do with my hand. I'd rather just do that. No reason to whip out one of my tools. But as you can see, the LLC is all done and set, so we're just going to be moving on up to the AI Decals lettering. Starting from the top left corner once again and dragging down, dragging at an angle, working with it, not against it once again. And right here, as you can see, it is winding up so snag. I don't want to work against it, so I'm going to set that at the top once again and just start pulling from the top right corner and just pulling at an angle. That way it comes all up nicely. And this is one-handed, so once again, even one-handed, you are able to do this. Relatively easy if you have the proper settings dialed in on your cutter, or you know, if you as well do just have this all pre-weeded out like with the software. But just going to the bottom along, once again, we're just going to be pulling at that angle with it. And I did get caught on there, so in a second I'm going to have to return after I put my camera down and fix it up. So now that we are back, as you can see, majority of it is weeded out. Now we just need to get those little letters, kind of the insides, and kind of remove it overall. The E right there did get some air bubbles inside, so I had to just flatten it out with my finger just because of the lifting of the other vinyl. Which is good, it shows that it does have proper adhesive, and that they technically are removable. So once again, if this isn't something you're thinking about having on your walls or your accessories, vehicles, anything of the sort, for the next, let's say, 5 years, you can always remove it at that later in your lifetime and always replace with something different. No harm done. And as you saw those specialty tools I'm using, I'm just gonna quickly just poke at it. And one key thing you want to do right here is pull into the actual fabric, or not fabric, my bad, the actual piece of material of vinyl you're trying to remove. You don't want to pull into the actual design. So for right here example, I'm not going to pull up to the top of the letter E because if something were to slip, I don't want to accidentally ruin the design. I'm going to pull into the center where the hole of the E is going to be, so you can truly ensure the safety of the actual decal you're supplying, and also just a lot easier to get rid of the scraps. So right there is one tiny detail in the S I need to remove, I believe. And then I'll be back when we're all done weeding it out. And we are back now with the whole design weeded out, as you can see. So the next step now is to actually apply the transfer tape. So that is what we are going to be doing. But overall, as you can see, it's a nice easy transition over from the vinyl cutter right over here. And once again, if you are going to be layering this, it is suggested to put like registration marks like in those corners where I just tabbed. That way you can properly layer. That is another useful tip, but we can always touch on that a little bit later on as well. And we are back now with the vinyl right under the transfer tape. I did get it pre-started, that way you didn't have to see me struggle trying to do this one-handed, and it's a lot easier with two. But we're just gonna quickly glide across the actual squeegee, just making sure it's attached, and that little piece of plastic, it's a little piece of vinyl, is just stuck on top from the weeding, so you don't gotta worry about that too much. So we're just gonna go ahead and just continue with this, and I'll be right back when it's all done. And here we are with the final design before it is actually would be applied onto a surface. As you can see, I left only the top strip of the actual transfer tape, so it'd be a little easier for me to attach to the wall as just like a placeholder when I'm leveling it out, to make sure it's nice and straight. But I did square off all the sides, making sure it was relatively straight, so when I'm applying it, it'd be relatively even. I am gonna have to do the placement on the wall off camera, just due to the fact that I do have to use two hands for this part, but when I can, I will show you the process. And here we are back now with the placement on the wall, and I did put a painter's tape right across in the center. That way in a second I can show you how I would go about properly applying this. So what we're going to begin by doing is by either the left or the right side, whatever your preference is. We're going to begin by actually taking off the transfer tape and ensuring that all of the actual decal vinyl is moving along with it. So as you can see, it is a little troublesome with just one hand, so I'll show you in a second what I mean. This is what I'm talking about here now, where you are going to want to peel off the backing of the transfer tape, sorry, the backing of the actual vinyl from the transfer tape. That way you can actually apply it properly. And at this point you want to grab a blade, scissors, anything of the sort, just to cut off that backing, and then you want to slap on the decal. And here we are now. I just made a quick cut, nothing too perfect. Honestly, could have done better, but just wanted to do it for just video demonstration's sake and just something quick. But the closer you are to the actual tape, the better it would be, just so you have more surface holding onto the actual tape itself with a decal. So when you are moving the other side, you have something more stable. At this point now, you just want to make sure you do apply firm pressure onto the decal, that's whatever surface is going on, especially if there is ridges or bumps like on mine currently. Since this is a wall and we do have a high tack transfer tape, it is going to be a little bit harder, but I'll show you that once we get to the other side and we remove that. Now that we are back and we removed all that other piece, exactly the same process, we're going to look at removing the transfer tape. You can notice now that it is going to struggle a little bit just because of the high tack. It'd be better if you used a low tack transfer tape, but it's still possible. As you can see, I did get it done, but off camera with two hands. Didn't even take too long realistically, and turned out great in my opinion. As you can tell, I am still going to quickly rub my fingers right over the decal just to make sure that I do get into those little smaller ridges that I might have not been able to with the squeegee and the transfer tape previously. But the great news is, as you can see, none of it's slipping off, none of it's really doing much of anything except staying on there, and it honestly releasing more air from it underneath and being properly adhered to the wall. So if you do have any questions, concerns, or potentially want your own decal, feel free to message me down below in the comments. I would have my email in the description. It's going to be ivan@aidecals.com. Once again, thank you so much and have a great one.